My name is Brooke and I am doing Part B for the Peachtree Securities 8 case. Question 1 asked us to look into two different things. First was the nominal expected rate of return. With this, I found a quarterly expected rate of return of 2.25% and an annual rate of 9%. Secondly was the effective annual rate of return, which I found to be 9.31%. Question 1 Part B asked us to look into the stock price, considering the fact that they had a sinking fund provision. With this, 60,000 of their 300,000 shares were redeemed each year, giving them an average holding period of about 3 years. With this, I found a stock price of $31.88. Now I will move on to question 2. For Part A, we were asked to find the expected rate of return on the date of January 1st, 1992, given the fact that there was a dividend of $1.80. With all this information, I found an expected rate of return of 14.09%. Question 2, Part B, asks us to look into expected dividend yield and the expected capital gains yield based on the same date of January 1st, 1992. Through the equations found on this slide, I was able to find the expected dividend yield of 8.09% and the expected capital gains yield of 6%. For question 2, Part C, I looked into the difference between the dividend yield and the capital gains yield. The dividend yield represents the added cash flow a shareholder expects per dollar invested. The capital gains yield represents the overall increase in the security's price. However, both of these represent added value for a shareholder. Furthermore, from the equation at the bottom of the screen, you can see the dividend yield plus the capital gains yield equals the expected rate of return. For question 2, Part D, I looked into the constant growth model, also called Gordon's growth model. This looks at finding the intrinsic value of a stock based on a series of future dividends that have a constant rate. For this to be true, there are a few conditions that need to be met, such as the company must exist forever, they must have constant growth in their dividends, and the rate of return must be less than the growth rate on the dividends, otherwise the model is rendered useless. Because of these conditions, not many stocks in the real world can meet them because they do not have constant dividend growth, as they have changes in cash flows due to changes in the business cycle. To begin question 3, I first started by creating a table with the dividend values for the Teco stock. I used a 6% growth rate for the first 5 years and a 7.5% growth rate for all years after that, as specified by the problem. Furthermore, in the next few sections, you will see that I used the dividend discount model to find the price of the stock. With this in mind, for question 3, Part A, we were asked to find the price for the beginning of 1992 based on the fact that there was a required rate of return of 13.5% and the market value of the stock was $22.26. With all this information, I found the value of the stock to be at $26.93. For question 3, Part B, which looks at the stock price for the beginning of 1993, I found a stock price of $28.53. For question 3, Part C, which is looking at the stock price for the beginning of 1994, I found a stock price of $30.27. Question 3, Part D is looking at 3 things. First, the expected dividend yield, which I found to be 7.5%, the capital gains yield, which I found to be 6%, and the total returns based on 1992, which I found to be 13.5%. For question 3, Part E, I found the stock price given the information that there was no dividend growth rate for 5 years. Based on this information, I found a price of $13.33. For question 3, Part F, I found the expected rate of return with the given information to be 14.58%. For question 3, Part G, I was asked to see if the 6% growth rate was reasonable based on the dividend change between 1989 and 1993. From 1989 to 1992, the percentage change in the dividend increase was actually decreasing and getting closer to 6% growth rate. However, in 1993, there was an increase in their dividend payout, resulting in a growth rate of 11.76%. Therefore, if you take the information given for 1993 as an outlier and follow the trend between 1989 and 1992, the 6% growth rate is reasonable. However, if you take into consideration this growth rate increase in 1993, the 6% growth rate is far too small. Lastly, for question 3, Part H, I was asked to find the long-term sustainable growth rate and how it compared to the 7.5% growth rate given. Using the return on equity and the payout ratio from 1995 to 1997, I found a growth rate of 5.28%. Because this is lower than the 7.5% growth rate given, it does represent a long-term sustainable growth. However, as mentioned, it is lower than the 7.5% given in the problem. Thank you.